Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Life Surfer podcast. And I'm super excited today that we have Jan with us. Jan Ristimets from Tallinn, Estonia. Very cool. Actually, a very cool country. I've been there and it's really beautiful. And Jan is a burnout coach. And today we'll just want to talk about like some takeaways from burnout that might specifically apply to men because Jan is primarily working with men and I'm actually working with moms. So let's see what we can unravel here. And without further ado, I just Jan, I'll give it over to you and just let us know some facts about your life and why you're doing this and yeah, how did you get into this coaching business?
Awesome. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Nice talking to you, Sandra. And yeah, so basically I can just go ahead and jump into a story time and give you a bit of a background. How did I end up here? So my background is in psychology, and I studied psychology in university. But that still didn't uh, prevent me from going through the burnout myself. So I had basically the environment to notice everything, but I still couldn't see what was happening with me. So my own experience with burnout is that I have conquered burnout twice, and the first time happened almost exactly 5 years ago, a little bit more than 5 years ago. And so what happened was that everything was going nicely in my life. It was nicely in terms of like career mode. I was consistently hitting new highs, got promotions. Everything was going nicely. So basically, next to university, I started doing part-time job at one sales organization. Started as an assistant who carried some boxes at the warehouse and did some time management for other people. Then I moved in all full time. Then I moved from assistant to shop manager. Then I moved from shop manager to sales rep. From sales rep, I got higher and higher and higher in the career ladder, and everything was going super nicely. And at that point, I basically had all I wanted. I had a girlfriend who is now my wife. We had our first home. We were just setting everything up. We had a dog. I had friends. I had hobbies. Everything looked very nice, but I still had. I was lost basically since I didn't come up from childhood with a lot of money. Then I started to chase money, and it ended up being the wrong target that I was chasing. And so what one point then got to my table was that I was offered to go move to Sweden, take up a country manager role. So for me, it seemed like a banger opportunity to go, and it will solve all my problems, all my money-related problems. It will fix me for life. That's the best opportunity. And so I decided to go for it. It was during COVID time. So I moved to Sweden during COVID time, left all my family, friends, my life, everything in Estonia. And then reality hit when I was in Sweden, because I was basically doing 5, 6 people's full-time jobs alone. I didn't travel back home so much because it was COVID time. And one thing led to another. And at one point, I remember when I started to notice that something was like not clicking right or something was wrong, I felt that, well, I realized that when we talked with my girlfriend every day. And at one point, I realized that every phone call ended with me crying.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, what's happening? It's like it doesn't seem normal. I am emotional, but it it started to started to get to me like what's happening? Something might be wrong. I might be tired or something. Because yeah, I was working very long hours every single day. And then I started to notice some things about me from my everyday life. One of the things that I started to notice was that I would never had any sleep troubles in my life. Always like was a super deep sleeper. But then I realized that I had trouble getting going to sleep
Mm.
because I had this work thoughts on my head all the time. I was like going through the day all the time, couldn't fall asleep. The next day when I woke up, I was super tired because I didn't sleep, and then I didn't perform. When I didn't perform at the evening, I was thinking about all the things that I messed up. I couldn't fall asleep, and it was like a loop that went in a spiral.
Hmm.
Then my then the next thing I started to notice was I was also trying to get back in shape in Sweden, and that was basically the only hobby that I had outside of work. So I tracked my heart rate when I went for a run,
Mm.
and at one point I realized that I tried to stay in zone two, so not go above 140 heart rate when I was running. And at one point I realized that I couldn't keep my heart rate below 160 even if I was walking. So my heart rate was elevated like super easily
Hmm.
and consistently. And that was like a third red flag. So super emotional, couldn't fall asleep, and heart rate was acting up. And then all of that resulted in me starting to feel very tired. So I didn't have the energy to cook so much anymore. Then I started to eat junk food. Then all of that, I forgot to drink water. So my hydration, my nutrition was bad, and it all. One final thing before the epic shutdown for me was that my closest people were starting to worry about me because they started to ask questions. Are you okay? You don't seem so lively anymore, and it seems like something's wrong, but we can't tell because you're far away. But it seems like something's off, and that was like, okay, again, why are they saying that kind of stuff? I know that I'm not performing at my best, but I always thought that I just need like a week off. I need
Mm.
like a little vacation. So that's what I did. I came back to Estonia. We went for a week in Italy. We did like a half a week trip with Estonia in Estonia with friends. And then I was like, I'm good. I can go back.
Until you
That's
crashed
that's
another time.
that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And then when I went back to Sweden, then one thing happened that was like clear and obvious sign that when I don't see that, then I am truly like I don't know blind. So what my body finally decided to tell me was that one day after morning workout, I was showering and I collapsed in the shower.
Well,
And I
that's a
remember
significant sign.
that's a
Wow.
sign. So
Yeah.
when I don't listen to my body finally decided to actually shut down. So I
Absolutely.
remember that I was lying down on the bathroom floor, and I was thinking, what am I doing?
Mm.
It's that's never happened to me before. And so I was like shocked. And then basically that was the final signal for me to understand what's happening, and then basically decided to quit on that day and move back to Estonia and quit basically everything and start figuring out what's happening. And then talking to my girlfriend, who is also a psychologist. So I was surrounded by psychologists all the time, but still I burned out. And I went to therapy, and then basically I understood that, okay, I burned out. And I burned out. I went very far extreme of the burnout to the stage where my body actually decided that it needs to tell me very loudly what's happening.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That must have been scary. Like the I like how you like put one and one together, like one thing leads to another, right? And then you're just in that spiral and you can't get out of it. Like the poor sleep, like you makes you exhausted as well. And then as you said, like you make poor choices when it comes to your nutrition and your health and everything. Is that something that you also notice in your clients? Is that a common symptom for, especially for like men and burnout, that they just disregard so many signs or red flags that they have before until they actually physically can like hit rock bottom and they can't go anymore? Is that something that you observe commonly?
Yeah, usually, well, one of my clients, the biggest wake up for him was that his heart was acting up, and he had a 1 year old child at home,
Mm.
and he was like had like heart failure symptoms or heart like symptoms with physical symptoms with his heart, and he went to the heart doctors and everything. Everyone said that you're fine, there's nothing there. And then one person said that it might be a burnout, and then it was like, okay, I didn't even consider that. Yes, I've been like under a lot of stress, but never thought that mental health can lead to these kinds of things. So it's like a physical,
Wow.
very big wake up call, and then it's like, okay, what do I need to do now?
Yeah. And is that a challenging part of your coaching as well? Is that men might not recognize the symptoms as easily, or they just brush them off. Is that like how easy is it for you to get clients? Is I guess where this is going to is like, because even when I'm thinking about mental health, and there is like still is like, well, you have to be the strong guy. You can't admit that you're struggling, and like I just also know from personal experience, like it takes a long time till like my partner, for example, would seek some help, right?
Yeah,
So how easy is it for you to actually to really find the people that you want to help?
yeah. But well, when I got back home, and the biggest so what for me then happened was that I was at my lowest, and when what usually I then learned that is very common for other males as well, is that I was home, I sat on my couch, and I felt alone.
Mm, mm,
Even though I had help around me, I still
right.
felt that nobody knows what I'm going through,
Yeah.
and so I was stuck on the couch alone. And when I've been talking since then, when I did my recovery, talking a lot about burnout with men and with females, it's one thing that is with men is that basically I realized, well, I also realized this later when like fast forward 3 years, 4 years, like 1 year ago, we were expecting a child with my wife, and then I realized the same thing happening as with burnout was that when my wife was pregnant, she had friends who were pregnant. She went to baby like yoga, pregnant yoga stuff. She went to, we also did like family learning stuff. We went together, learned about how all the pregnancy stuff and how to do with the delivery and then the newborn phase and everything. But still, she had so much more access to like
Mm,
community around
mm,
her. So she had mothers around her and they could talk about everything. But me as a new dad, I was alone. I didn't have this kind of group of men around me. And this was the same with burnout. So what usually is the difference is that women usually have some kind of girlfriends around them who they talk about real stuff. I have friends. We can get together. We can watch football for 2 hours. We can
right.
grill barbecue before 2 hours. We can go to sauna for 2 hours. We can spend together 6 hours, and I have no idea what's really happening in their life. We
Oh,
don't share,
that's
and that's the place when it's like, okay, I feel alone in all of this, and then this is the stigma with men is that you just have to suck it up, go to the gym, lift some heavy stuff, deal
right.
with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And that's the place that men don't go and ask for help unless it's very 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 scary.
yeah.
And even when I talked about this client who had this heart failure thingy, after our first meeting, he said that he has 6 very close friends that they hang out very regularly, but they are very successful and more successful than he is career wise.
Mm,
And he uh, felt very insecure about talking about that with them. But then I urge him, like, pick 1 or 2 people that you really, really trust and reach out to them and
mhm,
just talk with them. And next time uh, he came back, he told that he actually called them, he spoke with them, and then he understood that he is not alone because they have themselves had the same stuff. But since they were like very successful, they were running companies, they had employees and everything. So they all knew all of that stuff and they were like super encouraging and like being real friends and they could talk about it. But
mm,
it was like really scary of opening that door and really saying that, hey, I'm struggling with this right now. But when they usually do that, then it's all good. So it is different in that sense because yeah, men tend to struggle alone,
mhm.
and that's the very worrying part. And that's why it can go to the extremes of to the point when yeah you don't have any other option to take action.
No, absolutely. And you're already kind of getting into another question that I had because I still remember our first Zoom call when we just connected the first time. And we kind of just quickly arrived at the conclusion that burnout can show up for men and women very differently, right? And interestingly, there's actually institutes for burnout prevention that have specific programs for females and for males just because they need like a different approach to overcoming burnout as well. So you said like you had like this like literally like a physical breakdown, and I went through a burnout experience myself, and for me it was like I could totally relate to that, the tears, because like that's what me for me it was like an emotional breakdown first, and I literally couldn't stop like being depressed and sad, and like I had literally tears running on Christmas and couldn't stop them. So is there any other like any thoughts on you and or any experiences as well how these things differ between men and women? Because you also indicated you also had like an emotional part to it. It's not just the physical burnout, right? That might show up for men first. Is that what you would you agree to that? Or and it's more emotional for women? Or yeah, how would you think that they can be different?
Mm, I think that well, I can only talk about my experience in that way that I'm not connected with my emotions that good. So
Hmm.
when they do
Yeah.
come up, they are weird, but I just like okay, suck it up and move on.
Yeah.
And that's maybe the difference. But like the biggest lesson I learned from that first burnout was that well I went to therapy, and I have like this whole another story how I conquered that. But the second time, it was almost 2 years later. Uh, I was like getting confident that okay, I can do it again. I can go and crush it in the workforce again. I the next time is different, etc. But the second time when I burned out, it wasn't the physical part that got me; it was the emotional part. Because at that point, I remember one day I was again reflecting that I'm not. My sleep is getting bad again. I'm eating junk food again, and I'm not performing at my best at my work again. And I was like, oh wait, this feels similar. I've been here before.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, can this be a burnout creeping in again? And then I started to notice the signs like before, uh, and mostly for the emotional stuff. It's like, okay, this feeling is similar what I had before. Then I started to like trying to remember when I had this feeling before. It's like, oh shit, it was before I burned out last time. And then what I did what I called it like a burnout recipe.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically like it's like a cooking recipe. So when you have on your kitchen countertop flour, salt, sugar, water, I don't know, baking soda, whatever. You have those things, and then it's like, okay, I have these ingredients from these ingredients in these rations. I can cook, I don't know, pancakes or something like that. So it's like, okay, I know that I can do that from that. And then I just did like an audit of my day, and I did basically I took physical core needs and psychological core needs, and I started to evaluate what's going on in my life right now. So, am I sleeping? No, I'm going to bed very late, and I'm struggling waking up early when I need to. Okay, how is my nutrition? Junk food. Am I drinking water? No, I'm not drinking water. Am I exercising? No, I'm not exercising because I was working really hard. I forgot about the nutrition. I forgot about the water. I forgot about working out. I worked late, and then my sleep went bad. It was like, okay, all the physical core needs are off. So this is the first like signal that something might be going back to the wrong way. And then I did like an assessment of my psychological core needs.
Mm-hmm.
Am I feeling safe in my work environment? Am I feeling do I have an environment where I can freely share my emotions and what I want to do with my work? Do I have a control over how I'm working and what are the things that I'm working on, and am I having fun? Do I have any hobbies? And then I did make a list, like answered all those questions. And then when I had this basically written out in front of me, I looked all of that and I was like, yep, no shit that I'm feeling bad. And yes, I'm burned out again. So I did like this was my burnout recipe. I wrote it out and I see it. I had all the ingredients. So yes, I was cooking another burnout. And then I got to that like before I completely burned out my like physical body again. So I got to the and then I got to the point where I could conquer the burnout a lot more faster at that point as well.
Mm. Yeah, oh, that makes so much sense. And that's I love that idea of like it's almost like a checklist. It's like do I meet this criteria or not? That and it's so true. Like if you it's also like about raising that awareness right before actually like the worst happens. It's like that's the first step. It's like, well, and this time you notice the red flags on time, literally like almost on time, or like before it
Yeah.
was delayed for sure. I feel it's again, and I think we've talked about this before as well. Is like that for me, and I think that's true for many women is that there also needs to be like a real mindset shift because one of the reasons for women and especially moms, I think, to burn out is just this tendency that we always try to put our not try, but that we're always putting ourselves last, putting needs of others, of the family, of the kids before our own, and then feel also that pressure of we'll have to prove ourselves, especially when we're working moms, is like, I have to be good at my job. I have to be a good mom. That's all based on like societal norms. And so there's a specific pattern that I have to fulfill. And if I don't, then I'm a failure. And so, and then I'm not being good enough. And I think that is what like also adds to that emotional component of burnout in women, especially. And so I feel that in many cases it can, as a first step to overcome or recover, is to really shift that mindset and see that self-care is not selfish. It's what I need that matters as well, because if I'm not functioning, then nothing around me functions either. Whereas I feel like what you've told us is like it's all these important physiological parameters. We're like about hydration and exercise and sleep. Is that would you say that like for men that come to you, like that you are like, do you have to address those physical symptoms first, that you like get them to like eat better, to drink better, and that kind of stuff? Would that be a first step, or what would be a first step that you usually feel like works best with men or even dads?
That's usually the first step.
Yeah.
Well, what helped me was that when I realized that something's wrong, I wanted to start fixing it right away, and then I needed to take action straight away, and I
Yeah.
needed to start doing and get going at some point. And but what usually happens in that state is that we are living in a world that we have all the information, and usually that's too much information. And
Wow.
then it seems that you need to climb a Mount Everest every single
Mm.
day.
Hmm.
It's like you don't know where to start. What's the first step? It's like overwhelm. I should do that or should do that, whatever. And then it's like crash out and burn because you don't have any energy.
Yeah.
So usually the first step is like trying to map out the and put in set like the smallest thing that you can do every day, that it's so tiny step that it seems ridiculous and not to do it. For example,
Mm.
you don't have to like climb a Mount Everest every single day, but you can put the sock on every day. That's the first step. Put the sock on after you wake up. So and it comes down when moving this analogy to how to conquer burnout is getting the physiological stuff fixed first thing. So it's usually the first steps are to what are the things we need to do? So what are the new habits we need to form, and what are the things we need to cut out?
Hmm.
And usually it's we need to fix our bedtime routine, we need to fix our nutrition, we need to drink more water, and we need to be active. And then what are the stuff we need to cut out is basically uh, putting down boundaries. Usually it's work-related stuff. So, and usually what happens also is that we can't switch off and we can't draw the line on where I'm working and when I'm not working. So you need to put down boundaries from when you do that, you can't do that anymore. So for example, if you walk out of your office door,
Mm.
you can't check your email again. So you have to eliminate something. So if we eliminate bad habits, we eliminate that you watch screens for until midnight. So we remove screens for like 1-2 hours before bedtime, etc. So we get those physical things done first, so we know what we are doing, setting in place. So the other thing that I like to say is that when the body is in the right space, like when the body is strong and the brain is like well rested and everything, when something goes wrong, the body can react to it better. But if the foundations are not there, then even the simplest thing can throw you off. So
Absolutely.
first thing, physical stuff, let's get those in place. When we have figured out how we can do that, then we can start slowly putting pieces by pieces on the mental side as well.
Yes, that's so important. That's such a good point. And I also like that you mentioned this like offline time that you need because you probably would agree that or as you said, you mentioned it before with like feeling disconnected, right? And then if you spend time on the screens rather than talking to your spouse, for example, about what you struggle and whatnot, that kind of like it's also that thing that gets you into that spiral. And then if you feel disconnected, right? And I think that can actually happen for both men and women. Would you say that you work with more dads than other men? Is there like the component of parenthood? It sounds like it was one for you, at least the second time around.
Well, actually, I both my burnouts was before I became a dad,
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah.
and the men I worked with, I think that what happens is that they've been burnout for a long time, but having a kid put things into perspective, so they need to take action. So they were burned out before, but having a child made this like actually doing something about it, not about them, but something bigger.
Mm,
So before it was I can manage my I can live with this, but now when they have this more physical stuff happening and it's not their own life that is at stake, it's living with the thought that they can't be there when their children grow up, or the children have to grow up without the father. Then that is the point where they need to get out of their comfort zone and do
mm,
something about it.
mhm,
So I would say that I usually it is that I work more with dads, but they're very young. Like the kids are very young, but there are a lot of men who haven't got to the side of being a father yet, and that has always also been like a reason why they want to seek help, because they can't have children, but so they feel there's something's wrong and they have to do something. So
mhm.
my answer basically is that children finally bring the focus out, not so we're not so egocentric anymore. There's more at stake, and then we need to take action.
Oh,
So
yes.
it's easy not to follow through when it's only about you, but if you're doing something for someone else that you care about, then you're ready to take action and actually do something with it.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Absolutely. And yeah, I feel that is like this added responsibility might like just
Yes.
shift your own responsibility for yourself as well. That's a very cool and important message here for sure. Um, all right, so if to wrap this up, is there something that you want our audience to take home as a message, or maybe some symptoms to watch out for, or if you notice certain things that you should probably take a closer look? Is there something, if there's one thing that you would recommend to our listeners, what would it be?
One thing I still remember that finally moved the needle for me the first time was that um, well, I tell you a little story again. I like to tell stories. So when I was stuck on my couch and I couldn't basically get up to go to the kitchen and cook some food, I was completely drained of energy and everything. I I was super lost, and that was like a life of a 25-year-old man. So it wasn't impressive at all. So what I did, I just scrolled every single day, and what happened at one day was that I started seeing my friend living the life I always dreamed of. He was traveling around the world, and going to the places I always wanted to visit. And we grew up in the same city. And I was like, how is this possible that I'm stuck here and he's going after things? And then one thing happened 4 years ago, I think it was. Cristiano Ronaldo joined Manchester United, and we are both like very big football fans. And Manchester United is our club. And what
We're
he
Liverpool
did,
here. Oh no.
oh, we might have to delete this podcast now.
Okay, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
And then what happened was that my friend decided to end his world trip, bought the Manchester United season ticket, moved to Manchester, and started going to all of the games in that season. And I was like, again, how is this possible? It wasn't real in my head. It's like how is I haven't even went to watch a single game, and now he moves there and watches every single game. How is this possible? So at that point, I was at my lowest, and he was living my dream life. And then what I did, I just started DMing with him, and then we hopped on a call. And then when I talked with him, that was the first time I felt that I'm not sitting alone on the couch. It was as if he was sitting next to me, because went through he went through something similar, and he completely understood what I was talking about, and it was very normal. So at that point, I realized that I'm not that special.
Right.
So
Okay.
it isn't that I have this once in ever human history thingy that's happening to me. I realized that I'm normal, and there's other men who are going through the same thing. And now I have my friend who has conquered this, and he is living the dream life. And then that was the biggest point for me when I started to, okay, what is the thing? Then I started Googling more. Then I found myself a therapist, and I was like, okay, that's easy. That's just burnout. I can conquer this. But the main point that it all started was I reached out,
Yeah.
and I spoke to a friend,
Yeah.
and it's super hard to do. If someone would have said to me that reach out and ask for help, I probably wouldn't still do it. But so for me, the message is, and why I do what I do now, and why I do this, is to basically find all the men who are out there struggling alone, and basically telling them that they are not alone in this. They don't have to sit on the couch alone. There is a way out, and it at that point it might seem like an impossible thing to do, but in hindsight, I can tell you there are very easy steps we can do right now that will start the journey of coming out of that hole. And life has so much awesome things to offer and experience. So it is possible to get out from there, and usually the first step is to reach out and to talk to someone, and family, friends, or even if you don't have anyone that you feel comfortable with, then there are so many organizations out there who provide that listening ear, and you can just. So the biggest, yeah, you don't have to climb a Mount Everest. The first step is you just ask or share what you're feeling, and go from there.
Awesome. That's such a powerful message, and a very good note to end on. And we'll also drop your information in the comments here, so people can reach out to you as well if they like. And so unless you have any famous last words, but I think those were already pretty good, a pretty good conclusion of our
Yes,
conversation.
yes, I
And
think so. Yeah.
yeah. And I love that we got around to do this. I hope many people see this and feel not as much alone. And thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very
Take
much
care.
for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Take care, everyone.